Hey guys, it's Breaking Brian back with another review. This time it's for Stranger Things, guys. This is going to be a busy week. This is going to be my spoiler review for the first 4 episodes of Stranger Things Season 5. So, guys, this is going to be very fast paced. I'm not going to go over everything because I don't want this review to be incredibly long. But yeah, let's talk about it. So obviously we've been waiting like 3 4 years for Stranger Things season 5, and it starts open with chapter one, the crawl. So it turns out we have a 1 year time skip where we get to see Hawkins. We get to see the Wheeler's house, and we get to see little Holly. She is now what, 9 years old maybe. She looks a little older because the actress they changed the actress, recasted her. Realistically, she should be 7, but she's setting up the table, and she sees someone in the window, waves to him, and yeah, that kind of happens. And then also the house is crazy. I like this because we have Joyce. We have Joyce, Will, and Jonathan all living with the Byers because they used to live in California back in season 4, but but because they moved back into Hawkins in the military quarantine, they can't do that anymore. So they had to, like, it's just giant mess. Even Mr. Wheeler doesn't even get any bacon on his plate during a family breakfast scene. That was chaotic. So that part is kind of funny, but it's also kind of like sad. It's like, dang man, like come on, even the man of the house can't get a piece of bacon. You know it's bad. But yeah. Anyways, moving on, we have Elle Jane, who is training. She is with Joyce and Hopper, and this is actually interesting because I thought Hopper was going to join the military or something. But it turns out that for the last year, he has been going into the Upside Down and trying to kill Vecna. And they have been training. They have been training Elle. She has been doing obstacle courses to increase her physical strength, but also power and stamina, and that kind of thing. She's kind of being a little bit like Ellie from Last of Us, where she's like, "I want to do better. I want to be stronger. My time was perfect. I know it was, but I got to be better." Kind of thing. She's pushing herself a lot. Also, unfortunately, she is a fugitive from the military and the world. Again, it's like that part's kind of annoying, but it's not a con. Um, Meanwhile, we have everything back at the school. We have Dustin, who is getting bullied by the remaining jocks from the school that were friends with Jason and the other boys that died last season because of Vecna. Anyways, Robin is she has this radio station and she is broadcasting it to everyone in Hawkins. She has to be careful, and she does it in a special code because she is saying certain words that I don't know why she can't just go up to Hopper and Mike and them, or just give them a note like an hour later instead of just this coded thing. But yeah, she's sending them a code about how the crawl is tonight and all that time, what it's going to be about. So the characters are writing it down at school. Everyone just looks so much older now. It's absolutely crazy. So meanwhile, back at the military base, we get Dr. K, a new antagonist. So we have like a whole bunch of new military characters. We have Dr. K as like a major general or something, but she's also a scientist. I don't really know how that works. But they're trying to find 11. They're come across a whole bunch of decoys of her, people who are pretending to be her. I don't know why that's the case. But yeah, they haven't been able to find her in a year in Hawkins, which kind of lets you know just they're pretty incompetent. And they took over the downtown of Hawkins. I think it's called the Mac Z. This special zone where the biggest portal from the Upside Down, and they even put military metal walls on the ground in Hawkins to block the Upside Down from spreading any more ash. It creates like this a hill of metal kind of thing. So they did that. But anyways, yeah, so moving on, we have Dustin. He pulls a prank on the bullies with a snake, but eventually they come back at him and they beat him up because, if you guys remember, they hate Eddie after what happened last year with the Hellfire Club, because the whole Satanism, and Dustin pranked them and with the shirt and all that. So eventually they get to drop on just Dustin. Dustin actually gets a few hits in, blinding them with some paint thinner, because they disgrace Eddie's grave. But unfortunately, they do beat up Dustin, who was supposed to come to the crawl. So it's finally nighttime, and we actually see the crawl. And this is actually interesting. I do really much like this, how the characters are all very smart. They're the kids are what, 15, 16 years old. Even Erica is like 13, I think. at this point in the story, and even she is helping out, because you have the characters in the towers. They're keeping watch on the military to make sure Hopper gets through into the military, and Hopper sneaks in through the base, but unfortunately, he gets trapped in the Upside Down, which is actually kind of surprising. He gets in the truck without anyone seeing. They go into the Upside Down, the military, and they're all watching. They're all keeping tabs on Hopper because they want to make sure he's safe. And they're using a special van which has a frequency reader. But unfortunately, Hopper gets trapped in the Upside Down, and Will, unfortunately, has another episode with, feeling Vecna and all that. And you have it where he sees the eyes of a Demogorgon, and it's going to the Wheeler house. He tries to warn his mother, and eventually at the Wheeler house, we have poor little Holly. She was upset earlier because her parents were arguing because of the whole, imaginary friend thing that... which was Vecna, Henry, but she didn't know, and everyone else didn't 100%. But anyways, moving on. She was in her room when the portal opens in her ceiling, and the Demogorgon comes out to take her. And then in episode 2, it starts out with Holly, barely escaping with her life outside the room. She runs to her mother, who is in the bathtub, and she tells her mother that there's a monster, but unfortunately she doesn't believe her. Of course not, and tries to comfort her, but it doesn't happen. The Demogorgon comes through, but Karen and Holly manage to hide in the bathtub, which is full of bubbles. And like this part, that part, I'll admit that part was kind of scary because I was holding my breath along with them, and I was just thinking like, man, how long are they gonna hold their breath? This is insane. And then Mr. Wheeler comes in with a golf club, trying to attack the Demogorgon, but unfortunately it slices him, and it even slices Karen when she tells Holly to run. And the Demogorgon mauls the parents and takes Holly away. And we have Nancy and Elle who managed to show up at the house, and this part was really scary because they were ready to confront the Demogorgon, but unfortunately they arrived too late. Holly's gone and her parents have been mauled. And we have Eleven who runs through the portal just before it closes to go after Holly, while Nancy stays to keep her mother from bleeding out and dying. And then, we have episode 2, The Vanishing of Holly Wheeler. I mean, we kind of knew this was going to happen for a while now. I believe, Netflix kind of teased what the episode name was. So, the episode is kind of a spoiler. What happened to Will many years ago is happening now to Holly. And in the hospital, we have Nancy, who is very traumatized. She tried wiping the blood off her, hands. And she mentions how she's there with Mike, and she mentions how none of this makes any sense. Why would Vecna want to kidnap Holly? Why all this time? Why now? And Lucas kind of mentions Vecna doesn't do anything without... I will say one con, though. I do feel like the parents definitely 100% should have died in this episode, just to really drive in the fact that no one is safe in the show, and to really add to the realism and also dangerousness of Vecna and the Demogorgons and the Upside Down. I feel like having Mike and Nancy's parents dying because they never told them about the Upside Down. They always kept it secret. They always were going behind their back. I feel like, and now their little sister has been taken. I feel like that would have added a cool level of regret and character development for them. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. So that is one small con I do have with season 5 now. I feel like they pulled their punch and kind of chickened out in that moment, because Nancy is an adult. She's like 8, 19, 20, and so is Mike. He is like 16 years old or so, 15, 16. So realistically, in story wise, they don't really need their parents anymore. So I just want to say that. So we have Eleven, who's in the Upside Down. She comes across Hopper, who was just a little bit injured earlier from the Demogorgon attack that killed the Demogorgon killed all the soldiers in the convoy he hid in, and and he was a little bit shot, but he's mostly okay. And then Elle kind of hit him against a wall by accident, and then Elle is looking for Holly. She catches Hopper up to speed. They have to find Holly. And meanwhile, we have Steve and Jonathan. Unfortunately, Dustin wasn't able to show up tonight, so it kind of caused some problems. But anyways, their car ran out of had a dead battery, so they're getting jump started with another. And we have a moment where Steve and Jonathan kind of argue with each other because this actually happened earlier in the episode 1. They had a competition of who can climb the radio tower the fastest. So it definitely seems like, in my opinion, that Steve is trying to win over Nancy again. Because he's in love with her again, and trying to win her back, kind of thing. Whereas Jonathan kind of doesn't put too much attention onto Nancy because he's not the romantic. Jonathan gives Nancy her space and lets her be the assertive one, whereas Steve's more the assertive and romantic one. So yeah, there's that kind of love triangle going on. And then meanwhile we have Lucas, who is visiting Max. Again, he kind of did back in episode 1, actually. But so he's playing more Kate Bush, running up that hill. Because she's in a coma. Max unfortunately has been in a coma for the last year, and he's kind of begging. He's kind of telling Max obviously what happened, and in kind of hopes that obviously she wakes up. And I'm definitely curious when Max is going to wake up. If I had to guess, I would say it's probably going to be episode 5, at the end of episode 5, if I had to guess. But anyways, moving on, like I said, Lucas is just worried about Max and wants her to come back, doesn't know what to do. And then meanwhile, back in the van, we have Dustin. He actually manages to come across, in the middle of the road, he manages to come across Steve and Jonathan, and he tells them kind of what happened, or actually, I mean, not 100%, but he kind of lies about it just a little bit. He's all heard. And Steve and Dustin actually get into a massive fight, which I wasn't really the best fan of. I'll be honest with you. This was just a small nitpick. Because, Steve says that, hey, you should have been here tonight. It all went wrong. Nancy's family, all this stuff. You could have been here. Could have helped. And, I don't really see how it's 100% his fault, Dustin's, because he was attacked and jumped. That part was, I don't know, kind of weird. So, yeah, Dustin and Steve have kind of broken off their broship, brotherhood, friend thing for a while Jonathan is doing the radio signal, because so this is actually interesting. So they have a satellite on the top of their van, and they're able to track Vecna or movements in the Upside Down through it by where they're driving. They could figure out the direction, all that stuff through the radio frequency. Meanwhile, back in the Upside Down, we have Hopper, who's getting kind of patched up by Elle. Elle kind of mentions how she learned from Max, 2 years ago, how to clean a wound. Kind of feel like Elle should have known this prior, not before season 3, but sometime after it. I feel like Elle's 15 or 16 years old. She should definitely know how to clean a wound, kind of thing. Hopper never told her how to do that. I don't know. That's kind of weird. But anyways, Hopper mentions how he doesn't want to lose her, doesn't want to lose another daughter. That's why he's a bit he trains her how to fight, but he's still dealing with stuff. Calls her a punk in a affection way, because he mentions how he was a punk too, and he mentions how he just doesn't want to lose her, even though she is tough. And then meanwhile, we have so for a while in episode 2, we had Will, Robin, and Joyce, who were in the radio station, trying to talk to Hopper, trying to reestablish connection. And so what happened is Robin actually tells she tricked Joyce and got Will outside and told him, hey, you're an antenna against Vecna. You can sense where he is. Maybe if we explore outside, we can reestablish your connection with the hive mind and stop Vecna, find Holly, all that stuff. Maybe you can get a vision, all this stuff, because Will was having a vision of Will was seeing through Vecna's eyes when he was looking through Holly's eyes earlier in the season, before she was taken, because she was playing in the playground. So so that kind of happens, and Joyce kind of asks about the flux capacitor, and everyone kind of looks at her. Jonathan and Steve back in the van far away, they kind of look at her like, what is she talking about? Joyce doesn't know she was tricked by Robin, who just abducted her son, kind of thing. And then meanwhile, we have Will and Robin. They're kind of talking about, just what happened. And also, Robin's been having relationship issues with her girlfriend, and then Will obviously has his troubles. and they get an idea. Will knows where they are, and they keep moving. Anyways, after that we have the end of episode 2 where we have this is actually crazy. We have Elle and Hopper coming across the giant, gross sludge wall in the Upside Down that is blocking their path. It is just a massive, massive wall of. It's like Game of Thrones wall. It is massive. It's disgusting. And then, meanwhile, we have Nancy and Mike, who managed to escape. They managed to escape. Not escape. They managed to sneak in. They managed to sneak into Karen's room to see her. So apparently their dad's in a coma, and Karen cannot even speak and all that stuff. So they ask her if she can write down anything about Mr. Whatsit, the imaginary person that Holly was talking to, kept seeing that wasn't real kind of thing. That guy. And she writes down Henry's name, which means they know it's Vecna. So, like I said, in my opinion, we didn't need this scene. I feel like you could have had Karen die, and they just assume it was Vecna. That is Mr. Whatsit, because I don't see the point in that reveal when it's like, I feel like it's an easy thing to guess for a casual fan. So then, meanwhile, in the Upside Down, but in Vecna's mind or Holly's mind, I don't know. Vecna has created this false paradise in his old home for Holly, and promises to take care of her, all that stuff. And his home is all nice and everything's sunny, it's perfect. But they play like creepy music, and it's just like, oh yeah, Holly's in the Upside Down, and it's crazy. And then meanwhile, we have episode 3, the Turnboat Trap, where we have Elle telling Hopper she needs to eat. She can maybe open the wall, find Holly, because Holly went through. Elle was able to find her boot last episode, Holly's boot. So Holly went through here. They just need to find a way through, Unfortunately, though, the military shows up and they have some kind of brain scrambler, a power dampener on their vehicles. I'm not sure why those are on when. But yeah, they massively hurt Elle's head, and Hopper needs to get her out of there. Because she can't use her powers when they have that thing on. So meanwhile, back with Will and Robin, Joyce is actually able to find them, and she actually, she puts them in the car, and she's not happy that they tricked her, all that stuff. I even thought they should have left a note. And meanwhile, we have Will, who kind of, tries to figure out their connection, and he tells his mom her plan was bad. They need to stop Vecna, all that stuff. And he actually even found another connection, which was Derek Turnboat, Holly's classmate. He is the next victim. And we actually see, Derek in his in the classroom with his classmates, and he turns and he's also been seeing Vecna, Henry, Mr. Whatsit, all that stuff. And yeah, that's just kind of crazy. He is basically the next victim target for Vecna, and then we have it where back in the Upside Down, or in Vecna's mind or Holly's mind, in the fake paradise, Vecna is telling Holly he's giving her a nice breakfast, fruit, and pancakes, and telling her how he cares about Holly and just wants to protect her and her friends, bring them all here, from the monsters, protect them from the monsters, which. Yeah, like, obviously we know he's lying, that he's the monster, so, he's just manipulated her, tricked her, and mentioning how I'll bring your family too, and all that stuff. So I guess, when I was watching this, I kind of assumed that, yes, Vecna, even though he's evil, he does want to form some kind of connections with people, in his own sick and twisted way, this guy's a child abductor, and just, yeah. So meanwhile, we have Hopper back in the Upside Down, in the dark Upside Down, where he is protecting Eleven. He's hiding from. So he's hiding from the soldiers behind a sign, and it's honestly just kind of crazy because Hopper actually does it really cool. The soldiers actually shoot at him, and he actually throws grenades, and he kills a whole bunch of them, minus one that Elle knocks out, and because he destroyed the power dampener, the satellite, which helping Elle. And meanwhile, back at the radio station, the Squawk or whatever, where Robin and Steve work, the characters finally arrive. The characters arrive in the radio station, and they try to form a plan to stop Vecna, because of the whole, hey, they took Holly, and they're going to take Derek. We need to form a plan what is the plan? How do we tell his family he's going to be in trouble? There's just so much there. Like, we need to find a way to establish a connection. Remember, Will has a sort of connection with the Hive Mind, but also, how do we find Holly? How do we do any of this? How do we get back Hopper? And meanwhile, as that's happening, Holly is, she was playing around in the house, eating food, making food, and, just having fun, playing with clothes and stuff and music. And then eventually she gets a knock. She thought it was Henry. She got a knock and looks outside and looks in the mail, and she finds a note about how, you need to meet me in the woods. It's Henry. I'm in trouble. Help me. So when I saw this, part of me was like, yeah, I don't know who it is, because they showed a figure watching Holly when she got the mail, when Henry told her to get the mail. So it's like, I don't think it was Henry. I'm like, who could this have been? Who could have been the mystery person? You know what I mean? That's just kind of crazy. So meanwhile, oh, by the way, we have the new general guy. Not general guy, sorry. He's a colonel. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound racist or anything, but not only is he not intimidating, I rarely ever find black people who play antagonists. I rarely find them intimidating in stories. I don't know what it is. Like, maybe it's just the actor or how he's portraying a character, but yeah, this colonel guy who's like a secondary antagonist in the season, I just wasn't intimidated at all. He finds the dead soldiers and is like, we're gonna make them pay Hopper, and just like, I'm just like, I don't care, I'm not gonna fault the show for that. He just doesn't work for me personally. So meanwhile, in Erica's school, she gets called. So she was in class, and she gets called by her brother Lucas and Mike, and she is just like, hey, what's up, okay? And they need her help because she was friends with Tina, who is Derek's older sister, and they mention how, hey, Vecna is coming after him and in the family. We need a connection with Holly, so you need to get us in the house. We have a plan. We have a plan to get inside the house, and Erica is not for it until they're like, well, if you do this, she will never want to speak to you again. And Erica's like, why didn't you say that before? Because Erica cannot stand Tina. She's super mad at her, wants to get serious revenge on her. So she's like, I'm all for this plan if it means hurting her, So meanwhile, back at at the hospital, we have Robin and Will. They show up, and also this is going to be the crazy thing. It turns out that the plan for that they're going to do for the Turnbow family is that they are going to trick them, drug them, and kidnap them, which is all kinds of wrong, but it's super funny, and it's just hilarious that the characters are actually going to do that. It's like, wow, that's insane. So Joyce and Mike, they get into the hospital, and Robin kind of tells Will about the whole, she constantly blew off her girlfriend unintentionally because she's been busy and all the stuff with Vecna. She even blew her date, and she's going to blow it again. And just, she mentions how she had a connection with her girlfriend, and that just how it's the right one because you feel the chemistry and all that. Because as we know, Will is kind of secretly gay, or at least he's bi or something. So yeah, there's that. Also, I forgot to mention this, but we get to also see Murray. He was in episode 1. He's kind of the smuggler who brings supplies for the group. He gives them random stuff, sometimes food, but a lot of times certain things to help them with the Upside Down, whether it's technology or goofy gadgets or whatever. So that happens. So yeah, Murray's back, and yeah, it's just like, I guess, yeah, he's just outside the town. He lived outside the town. And then meanwhile, we have Nancy got this idea. I don't know how it works exactly, but she's going to put a tracker in a shotgun shell and shoot a Demogorgon. That way they can track it back to Vecna and find Holly, kind of thing. And Nancy's kind of mad at Murray and Jonathan because they were talking too loud. She's trying to focus on finding her sister. And, and Murray kind of is like, why didn't you ask her yet? And we find out what it is. It turns out Jonathan has been wanting to ask Nancy. He has a ring. He wanted to ask Nancy to marry him. But he hasn't really gotten the chance to because with all stuff with her family and Vecna. So yeah, I really don't know. Right now, I don't think Nancy's in a mindset to agree for marriage. Anytime soon. And also she called Murray, she said she'll shoot his potatoes, so that joke was funny. So meanwhile, back in the Upside Down, we have Elle and Hopper interrogating the one soldier that lived. And Hopper kind of mentioned how we want to know what's going on here, all this stuff. Like, what are you guys doing? What is the plan? How do we get out of here? And turns out Elle is inside this guy's mind, and she knows about Dr. K, because she's looking through this guy's mind and able to see what his memories. The only thing is, though, is that she's looking through a door that I don't think this guy's ever been through. So how would he know what it looks like? Like, so if Elle is looking through this guy's memories, then how can Elle see what the hallway looked like, the secure hallway looked like, when there's very unlikely chance that this guy went past this door, you know what I mean? So that part kind of was a little bit of a nitpick. But Elle kind of mentions after she gets out of it that, hey, they're using power dampeners in that room, which means it could be Henry. But I didn't believe it was Henry. She thought, like, hey, what if they do have Henry behind that wall, kind of thing. So they need a plan to get to him. So meanwhile, we have Holly back in the nice upside down. She's all ready for her adventure, just like the wizard character that Mike gave her the little figurine for around her neck. So she's trying to play her own hero, and she goes through. And then meanwhile, back in the Turnboat house, we have the family. We have the mom, the dad, the sister, and Derek. So meanwhile, after that, we have the family. The family eats. Erica apologizes, giving Tina a pie, and they let her in the house. And it eventually happens. Everyone starts dropping. The dad starts dropping. He passes out from the drugs. Erica didn't eat any of the pie, and so does the mom. She passes out. Then Derek does, and Tina, she was screaming, and this part was so funny where Erica pulled out the shot, like she had a backup just in case, and she's like, "I told you to eat your dang pie," and just. Oh my goodness, Erica's a savage, and I'll admit, like, that part is hilarious. And the characters go into the van. They put the characters in hoods. Sorry, the family. They straight up just abduct the family, from their home, and it's just like they really played off like how, like, yeah, we are going to jail for this kind of thing, which was so funny. It's like I love how they literally did an incredibly illegal thing, to save this family from dying. It's so funny, like. How they did something super illegal for the right reason. It's just like, dang. So anyways, we get like a Home Alone thing where the characters are a Demogorgon, setting a trap for the Demogorgon. They're drilling spikes. They are, putting traps for the Demogorgon, filling balloons of, alcohol. And they even cut a hole through the floor. Steve did it with a chainsaw. And they plan on the Demogorgon falling through it. And yeah, like I said, this was very like Home Alone kind of thing, and it's crazy. So meanwhile, back with Will and Joyce, they're talking, and Will kind of apologizes to his mom, saying he doesn't mean to, be like this. It's just that she tries to keep him safe all the time, like in a bubble. And Joyce kind of mentions how she just has regrets to that first night he was abducted all those years ago with Vecna. She said that if I had just been more attentive to you that night, none of this would have happened. And then meanwhile, so the Demogorgon actually enters through the portal through the Turnboat house, and Turnbow, and he falls for the trap. They set him up the trap. He falls through the carpet. I'm actually surprised Lucas wasn't killed immediately, but yeah, he falls through the floor. He falls in barbed wire. He gets shot with a shotgun, set on fire, and dang, this Demogorgon was hard to kill. Like, and it escapes the house, and you have Steve, who. Dustin actually installed the satellite antenna up on Steve's car, and you basically have it where they are just following the signal. They're going through neighborhoods, smashing through fences, trying to find it, and yeah, that part was just really funny. And then meanwhile, Will saw through Vecna's eyes again through the Demogorgon and said that, hey, Vecna is here, he's seen it, which means he's coming for them now, for the kid, for Derek. And meanwhile, we have Holly, who is just going through the nice upside down, and she comes across this weird cave area that doesn't exist in Hawkins, so it's kind of weird. And then she runs away because someone is after her. There's someone out there. She's scared, and then all of a sudden we see that as Max. Max is in the nice upside down, which is just absolutely crazy. I did not expect that twist, so that was a good twist, I'll admit. And then meanwhile, we have episode 4, The Sorcerer. So Joyce is talking to Derek, who has woken up, and he is once again calling them child kidnappers, which is really funny because technically they are. The Demogorgon arrives for Derek to kidnap him, and Joyce has an axe ready to fight it off. she's no match for it. But fortunately, Steve hits it with his car, knocking it over, and the Demogorgon is way too hurt now and goes through the Upside Down, and Steve floors it through a corn or grain silo and to get into the portal, and they manage to get through the Upside Down, and that happens. And meanwhile, in the Miller household, we have this new character, Debbie. She was watching TV with her family when the military comes in and just takes her away from the house. And I'm kind of surprised that Dad didn't try to protest or anything. But anyways, her name's Debbie, and they're taking her and the kids away. Meanwhile, we have Will, who's drawing like this cave of teeth and blood that he saw in Vecna's mind, and he mentions how this is probably where the kids are. This is important. Meanwhile, we have like I said, the antagonist. We have Dr. May, Major General, and then we have the black guy Colonel dude, and then we have the other guy behind them, and just like he kind of shows some concern for the kids and all that. But yeah, like I said, the whole military thing is just not that exciting to me, and I don't feel intimidated by any of these antagonists. But yeah, the doctor kind of mentions how, hey, we got to find 11. She's the key. Maybe she wants to kill the kids. Maybe she wants to save them. We don't know, but we need her. Whatever. I don't know. And like I said, just the military scenes are weird. Like the characters turn around and then they salute, and I'm like, why do you do that? That's just cringe. So Max kind of talks to Holly, and she mentions how I'm the real Max. I'm not a monster, and she proves it to Holly by mentioning, I know your brother. He tried to get a mohawk once. Meanwhile, we have the characters making a new plan now, because also I'm wondering what happened to Derek's family, like his sister and parents. Have they not woken up from the drugs yet? But yeah, Robin kind of mentions how she saw a movie and there were 3 tunnels. There's a plan. They can get the kids out of the tunnels through the military base. They just need to sneak someone in for the right time, and they decide to use Derek. Meanwhile, in the Upside Down, we have Dustin, Jonathan, Nancy, Steve trying to talk to Hopper and Elle, but unfortunately it doesn't really work out. Hopper tells them to hold on tight because Hopper and Elle are going to sneak through the military base, and the other characters, Steve and Dustin and them, are trapped around the wall on the other side. Each of them discovered the wall. Because when Steve went into the Upside Down, unfortunately he crashed into the wall and they can't use the car anymore. Meanwhile, in the Upside Down, positive Upside Down, we have Max, who kind of tells Holly how she was going through memories of her memories, but also Vecna's, Henry's, and apparently she came across, the high school where Joyce was a teenager, and I don't know how. Was Henry a teenager too here? Did he enroll? I don't think that's correct. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, so that part of the flashback, that didn't really make sense to me. But yeah, so anyway, Max she comes across the room with 11 because of Vecna's memories, where he murdered almost everyone in the facility. And yeah, that kind of happens, how she mentions to Holly how I've been trapped for so long and I'm trying to find a way out. Meanwhile, we have Derek, who shows up in the military base. These military guys are jerks. Don't get me wrong, Derek is a total spoiled, nerdy kid, but yeah, like, these soldiers do not know how to soldier, like, at all. Like, geesh. But anyway, they let him in through. He's the spy for the group. And we have Murray, who manages to set up a place where they could smuggle the kids. The plan is to get them out of the town so that Vecna cannot reach them. That way he has no power. So meanwhile, we have Hopper and Elle, who manage to sneak into the base, and Elle actually even kills a guard, snapping his neck with her mind. So they manage to get through. Also, we have a scene with Will and Mike. For some reason, it looks like Mike he parted his hair or something. That part felt like a weird cut. But yeah, Mike mentions to Will how you are Vecna. You are just like him. You are just as powerful as him. You just got to believe in yourself. All that stuff. And meanwhile, back with Max, she recalls a memory how she almost was able to get out of her coma through a portal because Lucas was playing Kate Bush, the song, and it opened the portal. She could have gotten out, but unfortunately she couldn't because the tape ended and Vecna came to her. She hid in the rocks, which for some reason Vecna couldn't follow her through. That weird chasm area. Meanwhile, Robin is talking to Will in the tunnels as they're gonna go get the kids, and she mentions how, she was just so scared. She was so fearless when she was younger, but then she got scared when she started having feelings, and then eventually now she's brave again. So kind of give him a pep talk. And then meanwhile, we have in the facility, which is by the way in the Upside Down, we have Elle and Hopper who take a scientist hostage, and they're planning on getting through the door, but unfortunately it doesn't work because there's power dampeners, and the door doesn't have the right clearance for the scientist, so they need to find a way in. So meanwhile, back in the tunnels with the group, they are going through. They're right under the base, and they're gonna smuggle the kids from the military. And meanwhile, we get to see little Debbie here once again. She sees that they make a hole through the wall, and they get her down into the tunnels, and yeah, it's like Mr. Whatsit. Robin and them try to tell him that, hey, we're friends with Mr. Whatsit, we're gonna get you out of here from the military. Really though, they I guess they're not gonna tell them, the kids, because all these kids saw Vecna. They're all his future targets. That's why they're getting them out. Meanwhile, we have Elle, who is in the office, and Dr. May finds her, and Hopper is able to take down the soldiers, but unfortunately he gets grabbed by a tentacle monster. And unfortunately, though, another thing that happens is as they're smuggling the kids, though, a random kid manages to see Mike and Will in the bathroom and calls for the soldiers. So Derek kind of just jumps out and tells everyone to run, and all that stuff, because unfortunately one of the water pipes was broken earlier and was leaking everywhere. And yeah, and then back in the lab, like I said, I'm just not a fan of Dr. May as an antagonist. Like, she's just, I don't know, she's just not intimidating at all. Like, is it the haircut? Is it me? I don't know. But yeah. So, anyways, back in the military base, we have Joyce, who's begging this girl to follow her down here. Or the monsters will get her and eat her. So that part was funny. Unfortunately, though, the military soldiers know that Mike and Will are here, and they're trying to get through the bathroom. And I'm actually impressed that Mike and Will and Derek were able to hold off this one soldier and the other two that came. But this is a small nitpick too, is that they not only catch the three of them in the bathroom, but they're able to get Joyce and them too, which are down in the tunnel. Like, Joyce, you can just run now. Like, the soldiers are not pointing a gun. Like, just grab the kid that you're next to and run. The soldiers have to climb down. So yeah. Anyways, Hopper is getting Elle somewhere. And it turns out he has an explosive vest, and he tells Elle that he cares about her so much, and to, just in case anything happens to him, just to go in the forest and to survive, be safe, because he's got the key card from the doctor, and he's gonna find out what's going on and all that stuff, in the secret door. So meanwhile, we have Murray and Robin. They're getting some of the kids. Unfortunately, they have to leave the rest behind, and we have the kids in the area, in the van. They're padded in, they're seatbelted in, all that stuff. And once again, in the military base, like, we have the colonel guy, and like I said, I'm just not big on him as an antagonist. But anyways, the soldiers tell the colonel how Joyce and them were smuggling the kids out of the tunnel, and then we have the Will seeing through the Demogorgon. It's coming into the base, and Will says they're here. And then meanwhile, we have just the base is completely attacked. Like, this was really cool though. We have the panels under them that start to break through, and the Demogorgons start coming out from under the base and portals, and they start killing all the soldiers. Meanwhile, not only that, but we have Lucas, who's trying to smuggle two kids, and unfortunately he gets cornered by Demogorgons. So do not only that, but Robin and Murray get chased by Demogorgons too, three of them, and it's panic. And then we see that in the portal, Vecna is coming through the portal. And then meanwhile, back in the military base, we see that through the secret door, it turns out that Elle is able to find her sister. I believe her name was 8, right? Or was it 10? I'm sorry, I don't even remember. But she was back in season 2. It was rumored that she was going to return. She could actually make people see hallucinations. She can get in people's head and make them see things they're not supposed to, or whatever. So we have Vecna, who shows up, and man, he got a makeover. Seriously, like he just looks ugly. So yeah, Vecna goes through the portal, and he starts killing the soldiers like crazy. The remaining soldiers, like their red shirts, and unfortunately, all the kids get taken by the Demogorgons through the Upside Down, and everyone is knocked out or killed or whatever. And Vecna brings Will to him and mentions how we're still going to do great things, Will, and I took you that night because children are easy to manipulate, to break. And he mentions how you all belong in my world, not in this world. So, like I said, Vecna definitely wants to have some kind of connection with. He like wants to create these children or something like that, do things to them. And then meanwhile, and unfortunately though, the truck crashes, and after the kids get taken, the Demogorgons are about to kill Lucas, Robin, all of them. Even Mike, and then unfortunately, out of nowhere, Will remembers that pep talk, and he remembers we get like a flashback film of when Will and Mike were kids, and all of a sudden we then see the twist. And to be fair, I kind of saw this coming too. A Demogorgon is just floating in the air, and then all of a sudden we see that it is Will. Will has white eyes, and he is controlling it like Vecna. He is stopping simultaneously stopping all the Demogorgons from killing his friends, and all of a sudden he starts breaking their bodies from many distances away. All of them, just like how Vecna used to kill his victims. And yeah, Will just unlocks his powers, and then he kills all of them and opens his eyes. And Mike and his and Joyce, who tried to stop Vecna earlier but was knocked out, she is able to see Will too, and now has powers. And then yeah, and then the episode ends, and that was the first 4 episodes, guys. These 4 episodes have been great. Like I said, just only a few nitpicks, but fantastic. And then the rest of the episodes are coming this Christmas. I cannot wait, guys. I hope you guys enjoy Stranger Things, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait for the rest of the season. This is looking like a great season, a great final season. I cannot wait, guys. I have enjoyed these 4 episodes like crazy. It was fantastic. Thank you, Netflix. Alright guys, that's going to be it for my spoiler review. I will see you all next time. Take care. Bye.